Good morning. It is officially Sheep and Wool Day. So today we're gonna head up to Vermont Sheep and Wool, and I'm excited to take you along with me so that you can see all the fleecy and fiber goodness. I have my very Vermont flannel and my hand knit socks. So let's grab some coffee and hit the road. Unrelated, but if you like oat milk and you have not tried Sown, I highly recommend it. I think it's better than Oatly. Just saying. So we headed out over the mountains and definitely saw some leaf peepers coming into town for the fall foliage. And I can see why. The leaves are changing a lot more in the mountains compared to where we live in the valley. But it was a great day for a fall drive through Vermont. So we got there around 10:30 and headed to the first barn, which was the animal building as always. There were several farms represented with a lot of different sheep breeds as well as llamas and alpacas, and several farms had the yarn from their animals out as well, so I checked that out and found some really soft and squishy yarn that I was very tempted to bring home with me. Super soft. I did manage to resist buying this year's sweatshirt, even though I absolutely loved the tie-dye, the logo, everything, and I kind of regret not buying it. But then I took a lap past the outdoor vendors, seeing who all was there, and thankfully some of my favorites were back again this year, one of which is Fiber Stash Dye Works. They have so many fabulous sock yarns. I absolutely love the sock base that they use. They have everything from tweeds to semi-solids to sparkle, so I was really happy to see them there. Next, I headed into the first vendor hall, and there were several vendors there that I was familiar with as well, or remembered from last year, as well as some new ones, so I'm really excited to see that this festival does seem to be growing. One of my favorite things about fiber festivals is getting to see all of the different types of fiber and fiber working that you can do, from roving that I'm familiar with to rug yarn, which I've never done any type of rug hooking, but I got to see some of that. And then of course weaving, which I do love, but I've never tried because I don't need to add another hobby. But I really just love seeing all of the variety, not just of yarn, but of all the different types of fiber-based crafts that are represented at festivals, because you don't typically see some of those things in even local yarn shops. So it's just one of my favorite parts about the festival, and this one really has a great representation of all facets of fiber work. After I finished one pass with those vendors, we heard some music from one of the sheds over near the exhibit hall, so we headed over to listen to the band for a little bit. So far, I have not been able to find the name of this band or group. All I know is that it was hosted by Royalton Community Radio. So I am trying to locate these performers because I'd really like to be able to link them in the description down below. So if I ever figure out who they are, I will have that linked, but they didn't have any merch or any signage, so I'm hoping, I've reached out to the radio station, so I'm hoping they can tell me the name of these performers because I really, really loved their music. So I did sit for a little while and knit and enjoy the music, but since I have yet to find the performers, to avoid getting copyrighted, here's some fun Halloween music while I knit. After I had a little bit of a break, I headed in to the demonstration building where there were weavers and rug makers and all kinds of different fiber artists showing off their crafts. While in the demonstration building, I came across my arch nemesis, which is Dorset fleece. So I have a history with this sheep. My cousins had a Dorset as a pet, and when the sheep died, I took the last cutting of its fleece to clean and spin to make my cousin a hat because she really, really loved her sheep. But my God, Dorset is maybe the greasiest animal that I've ever dealt with. It took, I think, close to 20 washings to get it usable. So seeing this was giving me some flashbacks. So I really had a moment here just reliving the horror of trying to work with that fleece. But they are doing a project around Dorset fiber because Dorset is typically a meat sheep. So it was really interesting to see. Then in this same building, they had the fleece and fiber contest. So these were all of the show fleeces as well as the finished products that were up for judging, and they had already been judged. Several of them had their ribbons on them, so I always love walking through and seeing all the different fibers as well as all of the different crafts represented that were entered into the different areas of the show. Then I went to the barn next door, which had more vendors, and I swear last year this barn didn't have any vendors, but I could be wrong. If you were at Vermont Sheep and Wool in 2022 and again in 2023, tell me if there was a second barn with more vendors that I missed from 2022. But I was really excited to see vendors that I hadn't seen before. Some of them I did recognize from online, but I absolutely was thrilled to have another building to go through. I also just want to give a shout out to Junction Fiber Mill. They also have a YouTube channel, and I'll have them linked down below, but they do what they call a Millcast, so it's a podcast from the fiber mill talking about all the processes, all of the different inner workings of the fiber mill, and all kinds of fleece and fibery goodness. So definitely check them out. And they even had little postcards for their video podcast, which I absolutely loved. So in this same barn, I'm going to freeze this right here so I can tell you about it, but I came across this gentleman who was using an old skein winder, and I started talking to him about it, and I learned a lot about this type of skein winder from, I think he said, the 1800s, so I'll let you listen to our conversation a little bit. That's a pretty old skein winder, isn't it?
Very old.
It's beautiful, though.
I'd say mid-1800s probably. And it still clicks.
It's just gorgeous.
Clicks every 15 turns, which is 30 yards. And every 10 clicks, it'll double click. So basically, I just need 7 clicks, but rather than counting, I've set it up so that it'll double click at that 7th click.
I did not know that skein winders used to have a counting mechanism like that. It was so interesting to see and hear. And again, that's another thing that I just really love about fiber festivals is you get to talk to people and to see equipment and see things that you normally wouldn't see in a local yarn shop. As much as I love my local yarn shop, there's nothing like a fiber festival. I also just want to mention that this gentleman and the person he was with are from Yellow Dog Farm, so I will have them linked down below as well. I really appreciated him taking the time to talk to me about the skein winder he was using, so definitely check them out.
Then they have a black lab, so that one's Black Dog.
There were a lot of food vendors, I think more than last year. There was everything from barbecue to Thai to samosas, ice cream, fried foods, but my favorite was all the way down at the end of the line. It would not be a trip to Vermont Sheep and Wool without visiting the Sugar House and getting a maple donut. Then, since we were already on that end of the fairgrounds, we went and watched a little bit of the sheepdog trials, which is always so much fun to watch.
Lie down, Jack. Lie down, Jack. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait, right. You lie
having done my shopping and resisted buying the hoodie and had my donut, I checked out a few demonstrations on my way back to the car, and then we packed up and headed back over the mountains. And I will catch up with you in just a second to show you what I did buy at this year's festival. So I got back home from the festival and I had to do all of the weekend chores and things, so it is a day later. But I wanted to show you what I did purchase. I'm still sad about that sweatshirt. But I will show you what I did purchase at Vermont Sheep and Wool. Excuse the background noise, that is the kitten. But as I mentioned, Fiber Stash Dye Works is one of my favorites, so I knew I was going to get something from there. I picked up this skein of their tweed sock yarn in the color Green Mountains. I have a flannel from Vermont Flannel Company, so I really wanted a pair of socks to match that, and I think this will be perfect for that. My next purchase was from Ball & Skein. I also got something from them last year as well. Again, I bought sock yarn, and this one is in the colorway Typhoon. I really love their base. It's really similar to Fiber Stash, and my spouse wants some navy socks, so I grabbed this to start them a pair of socks next. And then I picked up this skein from Woolens and Nosh. That was a new dye studio to me this year. They may have been at the festival before and I just didn't notice them, but they had such cute signage. And I mean, look, it's a little sheep and a pie. It's so cute. I think their name is fantastic. So new to me. Again, I might have just missed them somehow last year, but I picked this skein up. It's Superwash Merino Sport, and the base is a little bit different than the other two. It doesn't have nylon, but neither does the Ball & Skein. But I think it will work. But again, this is another option for the spouse to have some navy socks. They could probably use multiple pairs because they are also a Birkenstocks and socks type of person. So I'm excited to knit with this and see how I like it. And that's it. That is all I bought this year. I really exhibited some self-control. I'm very proud of myself for that. Still regret the sweatshirt a little tiny bit. But I really had a great time just going to the festival and seeing all of the different vendors as well as the exhibitors and the demonstrations. So I really, really hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you've been to Vermont Sheep and Wool, definitely leave me a comment and let me know. And if you're planning on going to any other fiber festivals this year, I'd love to hear which ones. I was gonna try to go to Rhinebeck since it's so close to where I live, but unfortunately, I have a conflict that weekend and I cannot go. So hopefully next year I'll be going to that one as well as Vermont Sheep and Wool. But I'd love to hear about what your favorite fiber festivals are in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.